I'm in a little bit of a different position because the computer that I normally film with, wow, this resolution is so bad. I don't think anyone would ever want to watch this, but I kind of like it being DIY y. But yeah, I'm in a little bit of a different position because somehow my computer that I normally film with didn't charge. So I have it sort of set up so that I can be charging while I film this. But it was really important to me to film and hopefully post a video today. I filmed briefly yesterday and then I didn't actually post it because I did like a little snippet that maybe I'll include here. I don't know. And then I didn't actually go back to it. But it's getting harder to this week for some reason to stick with the process. I feel like um I'm just like really already missing winter and it's not even necessarily over yet. My walk this morning, everything had kind of woken up in a very real way. So the park that I walk at has like a huge pond kind of marshland, and marsh and wetland areas are just like so active, and then in the winter it's like silent, and then yeah, this week it's just every tiny remnant of snow has melted and everything is awakening and there are a lot of smells, and my dog is just so, I love him, but he's just so annoying because he's so excited, and there's just like every creature, and the squirrels are fat again, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like I like the peace of winter. I like the I like that we all have to slow down and we all have to kind of like hibernate. And part of me just, I think like there are so many good things about living in a place that has four seasons. And I feel like where I live, we have really like four real seasons. We have a real winter most of the time. We definitely have a real spring. We definitely have a real summer. And we are pretty well known for having a real autumn. So, like, there's something about going through those seasons every year and like we experience them with any other creature. We experience it, and sometimes it's just like, I don't want a spring this year, or like I don't want a summer this year. And I mean, definitely there are a lot of years where we don't want a winter. And yeah, there is this like inertia. It's also coming to daylight savings this week, so I think that maybe after daylight savings it'll at least acknowledge that the shift is happening. There's like that weird point. This is in that weird intermediary point where we know that winter is pretty much ending over, but there aren't enough markers to kind of move that. So yeah, I also feel like I really took like activity seriously this past winter. So I was walking a lot, I was lifting weights a lot, and I just now kind of like getting myself into the mode of doing that in outside of winter. It's just like I just don't really feel like doing it as much. Um, but there's a bunch of other changes happening right now for me that kind of make it feel like I need to establish a new normal. Um, I do hate that saying new normal because it assumes that like you ever have something that is that consistently the same. And in some ways you do. I mean, like my days have a lot of routine in them, but then there are other ways that it can't be the same all the time. So this is a very rambly um, video. I was listening to, I decided to listen to something on my walk just now because I knew it was going to be harder for me. And I knew I just, maybe I would have maybe I would have walked for longer if I hadn't had a podcast going. Maybe that additional amount of stimuli kind of like detracted from making the walk happen. But like as much as I love my dog, he just made it like really hard to have any sort of enjoyment. So Good stuff. But I was listening to a podcast about Costco. I'll link the podcast in the body of this. It was about the name of the podcast is called Acquired, and it's all about how Costco came to be. And I just paused it before I started this, and it was just getting to the point where I was talking about the kind of like weird the weird dynamic with Costco consumers, which is Costco has the lowest prices and it's wonderful in so many ways, but it has the highest earning, um, like the highest salary. Its customers have the highest salary by something like 70%. It's 70% higher than the average salaries of a comparable store. So I mean, they're considering Walmart to be comparable. I don't know if that Walmart would be, but like Sam's Club and that sort of thing. Yeah, 70% higher. And it's some crazy amount, like 90% have 4-year college degrees. And yeah, it was basically kind of unpacking why that is. So, having more space to store things that you buy in bulk, you have to be like more thoughtful and smarter about what you're buying and how you're planning it, which takes time. And also, you need the resource of being able to do that planning and being able to accommodate all the different Costco, like all the stuff you're buying. I think there's also something about not, this isn't to say that I wish that my video about money and education had posted because it didn't. And I do, like, I had a whole video that I made about 4-year colleges, the educational institution as a money making institution, and kind of just my thoughts about that, my experience and what that was like for me, being kind of a first generation college student, I would say. Um, but yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think there's also something about Costco that, like, I myself have gone through like thinking that Costco can work for me, and then there's just so much that goes bad because you don't use it, that, and yeah, there's just a lot of excess required, I think, to get to a good place to make Costco work for you. There's a lot of discipline required to be able to buy so much in advance and then, have this, eat the same thing for that much amount of time. Maybe that's one way you do it, or have the freezer space to be able to save it, or just like do all that planning. I think that a lot of people don't have that luxury, of time and planning and whatnot. On the other side of that, you have all the ways that, well, then they were starting to talk about Costco, and its relationship to the Democratic Party and how it's like very actively part of the Democratic Party. And I know all of the amazing things that Costco does for its members, and I love Costco. It's like almost part of my personality at this point. I think it's part of a lot of people's personalities to love Costco. So yeah, like what it offers its employees and just like a lot of what it represents. um, but I feel like it is really emblematic of that tension point of, yes, it holds a lot of the good democratic values that we all believe in, and it does a lot of good for, workers' rights and how it supports its employees, and like, the $1.50 hot dog, and just even like what it is by being a wholesale club that doesn't price gouge and blah 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 blah. But it does sit on this, in this like interesting tension point of, um like being a thing for wealthy, educated, elite type of consumers. I remember I used to go to Costco with my dad every so often, and we like shared a family membership, I think, with my aunt and some of my cousins and stuff like that. Like, we just had one that at that time it was really easy to share the memberships. So we would go, and it was always more of a fun thing than it was going and like actually, we never went and it was like where we went and did our shopping all the time, or where we weren't a Costco family in that way. We were like, we would go and get a rotisserie chicken and like have a Costco rotisserie chicken because it was so good. And I remember like we would always see what kind of like fun new stuff they had, and that's how we would go to Costco, is to see what like the fun new stuff they had. And I remember getting like a lot of art materials from there, and some books. And yeah, we made it more of like a fun thing, which I think actually this was in the early 2000s. I don't know if people did that then, but that was like kind of ahead of its time for us to do that, because I think there's a lot more awareness now with Costco and Trader Joe's that those stores are designed for novelty. So Costco has a model that they're pretty much always going to have what you want. Although we did have like a very sad experience recently where they didn't have what we wanted, but they're pretty much always going to have like the staples that you want. But part of their business model is like novelty in bulk. And it's similar to Trader Joe's, where Trader Joe's has like the seasonal novelty, where they'll release some like novelty Trader Joe's product. And yeah, so it's just interesting that my relationship with Costco is kind of influenced by that. It's kind of nice actually that I have this memory of going with my dad and it being like this fun kind of treat thing that we would do to go to Costco and see what cool stuff they had, rather than it being like a humdrum everyday thing. Because now when I go and do a humdrum errand, I think of those memories, which is very lucky, I think. Um, but yeah, I was just saying also, I know I'm over time, but I don't care. I'll finish this thought and then probably end. But I don't know where I was saying this. I don't think it was on a video here, but oh, it was in the money and education video maybe. But um like food prices. No, it was in I'll add it then. I'll add the little clip that I did yesterday that didn't end up being anything. Just about the tariffs and like food prices and how we've shifted we've shifted from, maybe I'll post this for tomorrow and I'll do that one yesterday. Whatever. Um but yeah, food prices and how consumer behavior has shifted, especially in my generation, where now, because we're so focused on experiences and health, that we spend a lot of money on food, specifically health food. And I remember what it was like for me growing up, as food was always thought of as like a major expense, and food was really expensive. So like the idea that we would have food that would go to waste was not something that was in our house at all, because for most people, food is a major expense for their household, and monitoring food prices is pretty normal. So it's abnormal that we are a generation that's like, we're not going to buy a house, we're not going to have kids, but we are going to spend insane amounts of money on groceries to have like this healthy, lavish home cooking, whatever. Like that feels like a moment of major resistance for our generation. And yeah, I'm going to end this, but maybe in the future I'll talk more about, I'll try to get some data to back up what I'm saying about millennials and food buying. I know that there's a lot about it, and my hot take and how I'm trying to like work out what it means for me in my life. Okay, bye.